Hi everyone, it is August 5th, 2025, and since I made that last video, I hope you watched it about these children that are that are being, seeing Christ through visions, dreams, near-death experiences, and even slipping into another dimension while conscious. Incredible. Plus the signs that I saw from clouds day after day, all talking about the spiritual battle, getting us ready, prepared for what's ahead. That we are in spiritual battle, and we are deep in spiritual battle. We've been, but of course, it's getting very intense now. But we have God on our side. We have Christ on our side watching over us, and how the heavens are reaching out to us so that we connect. We connect with the divine. Walk closely now. And what happened 3 days after I published that video is leading to why I'm sharing what I'm about to share now. So unexpected, but again, the same theme in a very unique way. So I kept getting the message to go south in Florida. And I eventually heard Key Largo. Now, I've never been to the Florida Keys. I never planned a trip there. Don't know anything about it. Never researched. I know it's beautiful. I'd love to go, but I just never looked into it. And yet it was kind of a leave now, planned very quickly. I didn't even know where Key Largo was. I didn't know the geography of the Keys, but it's in the Upper Keys. And to just go with the wind of my soul, as I usually do. So I didn't plan much. I just got 1 out of 2 nights booked somewhere that I wanted to stay, and just trusted with the rest. And now it turned out to be a spiritual journey, but it was definitely a reset for me personally, for some joy. I haven't been physically well, no big deal, just very weak. I've been through this before. It's a recurrence. It's treatable, but just I don't have energy. Pretty much a homebody. I make myself walk every morning, and that's pretty much it. And I work out of the home every day. Same thing. And my spirit, of course, wants to do so much, but just been feeling to stay home. The only trip I planned was to see loved ones recently. That was the only thing I was planning. Nothing like this, but again, I trusted, and it gets back to that same message about trusting guidance, trusting your gut over common sense. Okay? I trusted I'd be fine. I even got my snorkel gear. I thought, if I'm going there, I'm going to snorkel. I miss it so much from Hawaii, So very, very early the next morning, I set off for Key Largo. And I saw on the drive there snorkel tour. There's no snorkeling off the beach like in Hawaii. There's coral reefs right off the beach, but there you really have to take a snorkel tour. And so I set that up for the next day. So the next morning, I get to the boat, and there's 12 of us. And we drive out for about a half hour off of Key Largo, and then they set anchor, and the captain comes down, and he says, "See that buoy over there?" He said, "Swim to that, and then go about 15 feet to the right of that buoy, and you'll see Christ in the water." Now, there's a statue of Christ set 25 feet down. It's an 8.5-foot sculpture that was originally created by the sculptor from Italy. And there's the original statue of Christ, is called Christ of the Abyss, by the way, is set in the water just outside of Italy in the Mediterranean. And then he had 2 more castings. One of the replicas was sent to Grenada in the Caribbean, and then the other in Key Largo. And he said you could dive down and touch his hand. Oh my goodness. So I, of course, made a beeline there. Again, not knowing anything about this. I mean, what are the chances of this, that I'm led there? It's because this was all planned out. I was meant to be there. So I swam out to the buoy and eventually get to see the statue of Christ. So I called in Christ's presence and said the prayers I say every day, and then dove down and touched his hand. And it was a beautiful, profound experience. And I was just blown away that this was happening, guided exactly where I needed to go. And I couldn't be happier. And then I got to the motel after that, and here I'm all wet and still in my swimsuit, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna go in the water. I don't want to be out of the water, even though I don't want to overdo it. I ended up snorkeling for 2 more hours after an hour and a half of snorkeling. Like, suddenly I had all this energy, so there was something to that. I'm back to where I was, though, physically, unfortunately, but it's a process, and it's all for good reason, and I totally trust it. So on the way home the next day, I'm thinking about all of this, and I was literally thinking about all the Christ signs I've had in the last 30 years, and even seeing Christ in the clouds. It looks like Shroud of Turin. That's the cover of my book, Look Up. But I was mostly thinking about what's happened recently, how Christ is coming through these children, and then the signs that I was getting one after another, and all about our salvation, that we'll be saved, all these things about Christ. And on my way down here from Arkansas over a year ago, when I told you at the last part of that trip, for over an hour, I felt Christ holding my hand. Like, it was a surreal experience. I'm thinking about all these things, especially recently. In front of me was this license plate. Seven Jesus. 7 Jesus. And 7 is a number that I see so much lately. I mean, it's like my main number right now, especially 777. I'm seeing it everywhere. But, you know, they say that's God's favorite number. That's God's number. I never heard that before. I mean, back when I was writing, I can see clearly now, or I would have put that in the book. But over time, I heard that, and then now with just things escalating in our world, 7's been my number, and it says 7 Jesus. I mean, I can't make this up. It was unbelievable. So that was my second favorite moment of the trip. Oh, and my third favorite moment was when I was on that boat and I met this beautiful family, husband, wife, and 2 sweet teenage children. And we're talking, we're in conversation, and I asked them where they're from. So I asked them, and they said California. And I said, oh, whereabouts? You guys, the town that they're in, I know one person population of 70,000, I know one person and they know of her. But more than that, he went to elementary school with her husband, well, it's her ex-husband now. Unbelievable. I mean, astronomical odds, right? And this is someone that has been very important on my path, especially the warrior path. We did a lot of work together. So it was unbelievable to me. And so the next morning, I was sitting with my friend and telling him about the trip. And he said, when I told him that story, and he said, Mary, when things like that happen, you know you're in the right place. You're exactly where you need to be. I said, that's exactly how I feel. And that made me think about when I was in, when I went to south of France. Again, against common sense, I was traveling all over the place in 2016, something I've never done like that. At least since 1985, never went out of the country. Shouldn't have been spending the money, said common sense, but it was guided. And the most profound part of that trip was going to south of France. I went to other countries, but that I was planning that, knowing that on some level for years that I needed to go there to do a healing in Montségur, okay? And I go there on this day I'm guided to at this certain time, and right when I'm arriving, this huge group is arriving that travels all over the world, one place a year to do special healing work, and never been in Europe until this trip. And they went to Montségur the day I'm going, and the leader came up to me knowing to ask, would you like to be part of our healing ceremony? I said yes. The healing of the genocide of the Cathars. That was the whole reason for me being there. And here I was part of this healing ceremony. If that wasn't incredible enough, sorry for the traffic sounds, I just felt to be here for some reason, and I'm trusting that. So I'm sitting in this huge healing circle. There's 44 of us, and straight ahead from me is this lady I saw in Brazil a month prior, on the other side of the world. I mean, talk about astronomical odds. And she wasn't even part of this group. She was invited, though, to be a part of this, and I just naturally went. There's so much more synchronicity to that story. I'll leave a link if you want to learn more about that story, but for those who already heard it, I'll stop right there. So then yesterday, and I do this often, I kind of review what I want to say. I think best when I'm driving. So I kind of just speak out things that I want to say. And I get to the water, and I just thought I'll drive south a little bit. And on the way, I'm literally talking about France and how I'm thinking how, all my life I wanted to go to Paris, but I didn't go. Like I went right to south of France, to where Jesus and Mary Magdalene walked. I mean, that, and the Cathars, the healing, that's what I was meant to do. So I'm thinking about all that, okay? Thinking about France and how much I'd love to go back. But anyways, I get to this beach that I haven't been to in about 2 years, I estimate. It's only about 7 miles from where I usually go. And I felt like this magnetic pull, I'm not kidding, to the little parallel parking beside the ramp to get to the water. And this other car is arriving at the same time. I get out of the car and see this beautiful family, 2 children, little children, and I'm like, we're gonna talk. I just knew that it was a divine appointment. So I get to the ramp, start to walk, here they come, and I let them go past me, but they brought up conversation, asking me questions and things like that. They're from France. They live in Paris. I said, I can't believe that you're from France, because I was literally thinking about my trip to France and south of France, and they said, you didn't go to Paris? And I said, no, and I was just thinking how I always wanted to go to Paris, but I didn't go. They knew of all the places that I went to, and they know of Montségur, okay? So it was just, we talked for well over an hour. It's just this amazing conversation with these beautiful people. And I said, by the way, what are your names? And he said, Jean-Baptiste. So I'm like, such a perfect, beautiful French name. And she said, Jessica. And I said, oh, my name's Mary. And she said, oh, my name's Mary too. I said, oh, I thought you said Jessica. She said, Mary Jessica. My first name, given name, is Mary, but I go by Jessica. So it's just like one synchronicity after another. Again, these astronomical, divine meetings. You know, just I'm sharing this again because I can't share it enough. It's so beautiful, and just to trust that, you know, to trust guidance, you know, when you know who it's coming from. I've learned the hard way the other way. So this was a beautiful trusting that brought such joy to all of us. This is the most important time now to be in a state of trust of God, trust of Christ, trusting the highest of the high, our amazing angels, and of course Archangel Michael. Like they're watching over us. They're constantly guiding us places if we listen. Sometimes we go because we're not even conscious we're listening. We just might hear turn left or turn right kind of thing, and it'll take us where we need to be. But in these times, trust is so important because we are in very, very critical times. This month is really going to be even more volatile, and you know, crazy things are happening, and if we pay attention and learn from truth, so we know how to move accordingly through these times. But September, I think, is going to be extraordinary. Also volatile, but we will be experiencing something huge. I think September could be later, but I've had so many signs. I'm far from alone in this. So many people are feeling this, that towards late September, who knows, you know, anything can change, but I'm excited. I'll put it that way. I'm very excited. We need to stray from AI that is causing so much chaos in the world. Our internet is not the same. It's ruining our internet, whether we like it or not. But we can choose to abstain from it, to resist it as much as possible. This artificial, fake intelligence turning us into a fake world where we don't use our own minds anymore. We're counting on fakeness that is programmed. We're being programmed and seduced and enticed by this. You know, I see beautiful people posting their profile picture. I'm not on Facebook again with my main account, but I've seen this so many times where these beautiful friends are using AI to perfect themselves, and I'm like, you're way more beautiful than the AI version. Like we have to resist this enticing thing they do so that everything's perfect. This is perfect, what God put. It's all perfect. Anyways, between these things, the push for these things, the wearables, AI, all of it, we need to resist and move closer to God than ever. I can't say it enough. I've said it so many times, walking with God, trusting God, because this is what it's about. Christ is reaching out big time, and that is my ultimate message. Trust God, trust Christ, trust the highest of the high. They're all helping us through. We're not alone. And when we get to this other side of this, I cannot wait to celebrate with you.